Hey guys, welcome to Unboxed Creativity. This is our first episode. This is your host Fernando, and then hosts Emmanuel and Val. Guys, do you want to just introduce yourselves? And today we're going to talk a little bit about ourselves, a little bit about how we met, our careers, and everything. So go ahead, guys.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Emmanuel. I am a DP here in Orlando, Florida, and we just decided to start this podcast to kind of start growing something together. Start talking about some great topics in the industry.
Hey guys, I'm Val. I'm a media producer, a fellow with the lights normally. I love to gaff, but also I do everything below and above the line in production. So I'm glad to be here, and hopefully we're going to be talking about full creativity and all the ways we could possibly do. So I'm excited.
So we're all very creative. We have a lot in common, of course, and I think what brings us together is that creativity, that love for the arts. A lot of times we are together professionally, doing work together, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about how we met, and then I think we can, as we do that, we can talk about ourselves. So I'm gonna introduce myself better with a little more details for everybody tuning in, and then go a little bit about our history working together. And then you guys can even talk about stuff that you worked on your own with me being in Brazil. So right now, everybody, if you don't know, I'm currently in Brazil. They're in Orlando right now, which is where we met. So I am originally from here, from São Paulo, Brazil. I moved to the US when I was 18. I moved there for college. So I went to school in New York for a year, then I went to school in UCF. At UCF, I got a degree in advertising and public relations, and then a minor in film. And I always had this love and passion for filmmaking. I was always very creative, always liked drawing, always loved to watch old movies. As a Brazilian, my friends would always be playing soccer, doing something like that, and I would be just home watching old shows on TV, and nobody would understand that. Now everybody understands why I was doing that. And I think I always wanted to be a part of it. So for me, film and the arts in general, but especially film, has been part of me since I was very little. I remember getting these very small cameras with my grandpa, who's a photographer, and just setting that up, getting a few classmates from school together and doing a little short film. And that's how everything started for me. And then so I went all the way to the US to follow that, right? And graduated from UCF. And in the middle of that is how I met Emmanuel and Val. And I quickly knew, I met them separately in different projects. So I met Val in a more, I guess more towards like advertising and marketing within Think Integrated, where I worked as a video producer, and Val was a video intern, right, Val, when we met.
Yeah,
and
video intern.
I remember seeing her portfolio right away and being like, all right, we need that. Bring her in, we need that. So it was really good portfolio for someone applying back then to an internship. It was surprising for everybody. So that's how we met. And then I met Emmanuel through my other passion, which is filmmaking. So we met on a film set, and then technically on the next project, he wasn't on set, but he was in the project. That was like a funny story.
The COVID project of
while
being the main producer.
We can forget about that one. Let's talk about the good stuff.
I tried editing a little bit that one, but I never finished.
Yeah. Let's talk about other things. So, long story short, then I currently, like I said, I'm in Brazil. I'm doing a little bit of work for American companies, a little bit of work for Brazilian companies. I have my own production company here. Everybody here has one, so I want everyone to talk about their production companies as well. We love working together, but we also love working on our own, on our creative stuff. I'm mostly a director because for multiple reasons. One is that I like all the different aspects and phases, I guess, of filmmaking, from pre-production to post. So I like writing. I really enjoy this, the cinematography, the talking, the communication, and I love editing in post. So I think directing has a little bit of all of that, but also because I'm a storyteller by heart and I really love telling engaging stories and being a part of that. But I do different roles in set. We love film so much that it's hard for us to just do one thing. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that I'm currently getting my master's degree in storytelling and branding and digital communications. So it's keeping me up to date with a lot of trends in technology, and that's also something we want to talk about a lot here in this podcast. Just things like AI, like a bunch of stuff. So you guys are going to hear a lot of cool, interesting stuff. But yeah, Emmanuel, if you want to talk a little bit about yourself and then Val.
Yeah. What about SETI Films?
Oh yeah, I mean the production company I have set up here in Brazil is SETI Films, so you guys can check that out on Instagram, and it embodies everything that I have for film. I tried to bring that knowledge, experience, and passion for filmmaking to that brand to create content for all kinds of clients. You know, each story is very, very unique. So I don't pick and choose too much of what kind of stories I want to tell. I think everyone has their own stories and there's a unique way to tell that story. So we do everything from, I try not to do a lot of event videography. That's the three of us, I think, but we do that sometimes. We do a lot of commercials where we actually get to tell a whole story. We do a lot of music videos. So those are more similar to film. And again, we're going to talk about all these things in the podcast later. But for us as creatives, it's important to have a certain control over the final product. So we like to do things where we have that. So if we can control the lighting, the acting, the storytelling, we love that stuff, the three of us. And that's also what I bring to my company. So I love doing branded commercials. So we worked with clients like eBay. We worked with clients like Tabasco. And that was really cool. Got to shoot it and direct it here in São Paulo in Brazil. So it was just interesting to be able to deal with different cultures and speak different languages and see how things are on set.
Cool. I mean, awesome. I mean, great introduction. My name is Emmanuel. I have a little production company here, EMMAN Films. And yeah, brand films, commercials, all the stuff we kind of like to do. And yeah, we met all each other doing film. We don't want to really call ourselves that much of full-on filmmakers because we all kind of are growing into the aspect of doing things in different ways than we imagined when we first got into either film school or college. And yeah, we kind of banded together to kind of hop on this podcast and talk about different topics that we all really like to talk about, but also we hear other people are interested in talking about, camera stuff, creative things, fun stories of how we got into a situation and we got out of it. And we're very excited to, kind of talk to you guys about that and, enjoy fun stories about each other. And we're also very excited in the near future to hopefully have some guests on and tell some awesome advice and, being a producer, being a filmmaker, being a DP, and kind of being that from college and then hopefully getting to that business person that, has their own company or is a DP that travels. And we're kind of excited to see where we go from there. So we're very excited.
So, hey guys, now it's my turn. I'm Val. I'm a media producer. I'm like kind of in the fusion between Fernando and Emmanuel. Like my brain is split off into advertising, and I do have like a passion and some skill with branding. I love it. I'm into it. But also, I used to live in Venezuela and I started studying filmmaking there. And it was kind of a surprise for me. I never pictured myself being an actual filmmaker. I was always, attracted to arts in general and creativity. I actually went for music school most of my life, and I danced and I did a lot of things, but never like, yes, I want to do filmmaking. That's not true at all. But I think I got my first digital camera when I was like probably 10, 11, and it was this little pink camera, and it will be taking snapshots of everything. And then from there, once my sister got a professional camera and I borrowed it, and it became mine. And I shot with that camera for like straight up 10 years until I got this new camera. So pretty much I've been dragged into the audiovisual world just by heart. I just felt like I could do this, and through photography, I kind of realized that it was for me. You know, it was a type of language I could express, tell stories, and do stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, just let me give it a shot. Of course, once I moved to the States, I was like, yeah, well, I don't want to be poor. So I thought, well, what if I do a little bit of advertising? But then I end up just doing media production. So it's been here, there, but always it brings me back to the same spot. So yeah, I guess it's going to be cool to share a little bit of how things have been given to me, and, you know, super down to start the conversation with being a creative. And yeah, met you guys how long ago? 2, 3 years?
Yeah, it's time's passed. I would love to get into that. Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to do it in timeline, Fernando, of how we all met each
Yeah.
other?
Yeah, in my mind, it's a little all over the place because I remember when I remember meeting you separately, but I don't know what happened first. I don't know who I met first. Did I meet Emmanuel first? I think so.
I met you on It's a Date.
Yeah, and I don't.
So It's a Date was like the first thing you showed me. Like, it was very recent.
So it was around the same time, but it was different. Like I said, different parts of like my career. So one was the advertising agency, which is how I met Val. And then the other one was on a film set, which is how I met Emmanuel. Emmanuel, it was before It's a Date, because you were on set for Amongst the Shadows. As a...
It's a Date was first.
Oh, it's a date. Yeah. No, you got it.
It's a Date was first.
I was confusing It's a Date with the other one. What was it? I'm leaving
Shadows.
her. Yeah.
No, I'm leaving her.
Yeah.
So this is how I found you, since I have apparently a stronger memory than you.
Oh, 100%. Dude, you're what, a year younger? Just wait.
I always joke around how I have the worst memory. I feel like hopefully in the next year or so I'm gonna hire a person, just personally for me, to just be behind me and keep all these notes from my head. But
have an AI, just an AI bot reminding me. No, you met him first.
High key, like you guys were joking about that, and then next year we're gonna be like, yo, did you buy that new AI assistant? But so around the time I met Fernando, I was I think a year in, not even a year, like 6 months to 8 months into the short film game of I just got out of college and I want to do as many short films as I can. So someone introduced me to a Facebook group chat, which anyone coming out of film school or high school or even college that wants to do film, I think it's a very, very powerful tool to kind of meet people and then meet people that are doing things in that industry. And I just kept asking questions. I kept asking, different people if I can be on their sets. I came into one of Fernando's associates that was, I think he was a producer, right? Producer?
Yeah.
Or one of the actors. He was producing it, and I was like, hey man, I see you doing a film. I would really love to be a part of it. And yeah, he said, yeah, come on board. Obviously, it wasn't paid. Most short films aren't paid. I think we ate. Did we even eat? Did you even feed us?
Let's worry about that later.
You don't need to eat sometimes.
Yeah, let's not
That's
get into
a lot.
details. You're here to make a film. I remember now, though. I'm not gonna say it. I'll let you tell the story. But I remember the day the first day I saw you. I remember the first day, the shot we got together. Yeah, guys, weird, but we were in my bedroom. I mean, we were. What can I say? We met and we went right into my bedroom for It's a Date.
It was a
The
set.
shot that we got, it was inside my bedroom. The shot that you were actually behind the camera with me.
I don't remember that shit at all.
Well, yeah, it was Bree. It was Bree on the bed, and she was reading, or she was on the phone, And then I was like,
Yes, I remember that.
so that, see, the memory is going back and forth. So it was a good time. It was a good shot. And yeah, I remember it now. That was before Amongst the Shadows, huh? I
That
didn't
was way
remember.
before.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
And-
way before.
I feel like the wild thing about the story too is that like, I around that time I think that's a whole different Emmanuel than I am now because I was
Dude.
like, I was
Dude.
fresh out of college. I was super eager, super excited. My whole mindset was film, and that's why like I don't necessarily want to call myself a filmmaker because when I first got out of in college and when I first got out of college, my whole mindset was like I want to be a filmmaker, and it was
Yeah.
such a naive and a small like not small mindset. It was a super ambitious mindset, and I guess age gets to you, but it's funny seeing how like I got to set and I tried being friends with every person I could see there, and then the people that
It's
that
like you when
I
you're
really
drunk.
connected to, yeah. That was back then when I was like the same person. I was drunk and sober, but now I'm like two different people when I'm drunk and sober.
That's true. That's so true. Oh my god.
That's so wild. Thinking about how quick asking someone on Facebook if you can be a part of a project can lead to
Yeah.
all these different little things.
No, I want to add to that one thing. Now that you kind of opened my mind to this whole, and I'm not using this as an excuse. My memory is bad, but when I'm in Brazil, I forget some memories. I don't know if Val has the same thing because she's from Venezuela. I mean, Emmanuel's Venezuelan, but he's born in the States. You kind of hide a little bit of those stories, and that's a whole other psychological thing that I don't want to get into the details. I want to start crying here, but you hide a little, like you kind of want to forget some stories. Not that they're bad, but just because you don't want to think about them all the time because you're gonna be missing those people all the time. And when I'm there in the States, I block all the stories from here. It's crazy. My brain does that. Not all of it. Like I still know who you guys are. Still love you. I'm still here doing this thing. But I kind of block some things. Like it's just natural to me. So now that you said all of this, I started remembering and I was like, oh, okay. And I also remembered how bad those first scripts were. Dude, we just wanted to have fun. And I definitely met you first because I didn't even show that movie to Val. I didn't know Val yet. And yeah, and then so let me just go through the timeline quickly so we don't have to. So I was directing It's a Date. I was co-directing that with Tom. Then I did Amongst the Shadows, where Tom was like the actor. He was the lead actor on that, which was a noir film. That one we have some funny stories about. And maybe you tell me when you want to get to that. It can be after this. There's one specific steak story on set that I want to talk about. And then from Amongst the Shadows is when then we did Got Your Six and with Brooke, where I was a cinematographer, and I noticed how much you like cinematography and you wanted to do that. And me, as someone that always wanted to direct, and I noticed that Brooke actually wanted to act. So everyone was kind of doing something else.
Everyone was doing something completely different.
And we kind of just switched. And we were super successful when we did switch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's when we did other projects together. We did The Blue Room, for instance. And I mean, for me, that's probably my favorite project. It's definitely the one that won the most awards that I've directed. And I put Val in a spot that she was shining for that. Like it was what I needed. Emmanuel was on the spot that we needed him, literally. Sometimes hiding behind a TV with a camera, like leaning against a wall.
You're missing what's it called? I'm Leaving Her.
I'm Leaving Her, which was around that same time. It was a little bit before, and where I think we were also shining in that aspect because you were doing cinematography for that, Emmanuel. But I don't think Val wasn't the gaffer.
Like one quick thing I want to add of how funny these things progress. How I went on set for, just so the audience knows, it's a date, then Amongst the Shadows, then it's Got Your Six, then it's I'm Leaving Her. But in each one of those, it's a date. I was a PA, simple PA, super shy, super trying to get my nose in the floor. And then I was like a producer or AD? No, I was AD for for Amongst the Shadows.
Yeah.
Then it went to I was producer and also AD for AD and AC for Got Your Six, and then I finally pushed you enough to make me a DP.
Finally, I earned my spot, man.
I'm not that hard. I'm pretty easy.
I remember this conversation where Fernando goes, "Hey, I gotta," because we shot Got Your Six in June, and then we're gonna shoot the other movie in August. He was like, "Hey, man, you did a really good job at producing. I really want you to help me produce this project." And I said, "No." And then he was like,
"No, you didn't say no."
I said no. I was like,
mean,
that movie, that sounds so amazing, but I want to be DP on it. And then you're like,
That
I don't
was
know.
for I'm leaving her.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'm leaving her. Yeah.
Dude, that's so funny because the first and I'm gonna get into this in a second, which is the next movie, but that's one big thing for a director, to know where each person can shine and can be their best. And I hadn't really seen much work from Emmanuel, but when we worked together on Got Your Six, I was like, right, maybe this kid's not just the AD that we think he is, or he's gonna just, because he, first, I think even more than now, I think you're still organized, but now you're more of an artist like us. So we're, the more you progress into the creativity, the more you lose that organization skill, I feel like. So in the beginning, you would come to me.
It's like a spirit possesses you, and you start getting just so messy.
One gets better, the other one gets worse. So Emmanuel would come to me with those like call sheets, and like he would have like,
the man is talented. No. Like, Emmanuel knows how to do that.
He would come to me and like, no, he definitely knows how to do it, but now he's more focused on the visuals, and that's fine.
Yeah,
he can't do everything. But I remember he would come to me with this like, so at 11:55 we're gonna have the first call for lunch. I was like, damn, this guy's good. And he would bring a lot of stuff. He would always bring more than I asked. So for me, that was it. That was him. Because for a director, it has to be really clear. Sometimes you find some specific ability that you didn't see, but for them, I was like, all right, that's what he likes to do. He's good at that. He's too organized to be a DP or a director like myself. That's just his thing. But then he told me he wanted to do it. We did Got Your Six together where I was the DP, and he was showing me he knew a lot of stuff. And I was like, hold on, this guy. So then we did I'm Leaving Her, and then what happened, Emmanuel, with that film? What did we win?
We won Best Cinematography, I think, for that film.
Ooh.
And the wild thing is, not to like, not give us any credit, but like once you watch a movie after a year, you're like, what the fuck is this? Especially when it's a short film.
Dude.
I want to give, not even like necessarily give myself credit in this aspect, but give my younger version the credit of like having ambition that I kind of miss about myself in a certain way, where it's like, you're brand new, everything's so gleamy-eyed, and when you're put in a position, you do 110%. So that PA job, I did 110%, that first one. That AD job, I did 110%. That AC producer job on Got Your Six, I did 110%. And then that DP job, I did 110%. And all these different positions weren't necessarily positions that I wanted to be in, but I wanted to kind of prove my passion so hard that you would do them, and then you would see the faces in the people, and then you would see who else does it, and then you grow with them, which is something that I still think I do a lot. But once you're kind of in this industry and in this field, you start kind of losing that in a funny way. And I feel so like, I don't feel old and grumpy, but now I feel like, damn, like if I had that full on drive that 3 or 4 years ago me had, imagine the stuff we could do. And because I don't think I'm as organized anymore as I was back then.
You're not.
So
You're not. I can tell you that you're not. You're still organized, but just it's not the same thing. But 100%, I think the drive that we had is different, and then if we could get that with the skills that we have now. But at the same time, though, I think that we were doing any job for no money. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
And that's also a difference.
But just because how Emmanuel say it, we were trying to prove so hard that we really want to do this, because we got to realize it before it ourselves. Like one day I was like, okay, you know what, 110% on this, because like throughout my life, I don't know you guys, but in my experience, I had like a lot of things my parents will put me in, like music, and I regret sometimes like I didn't keep up with music just because I was a rebel kid. That's my only, like, I was like, nah, I want to play, you know, like I could be, you know, mastering piano classes, but I prefer to just play tennis or just hang around and play with dogs. I don't know. And I don't blame my younger self, but at this point I was like, when I start feeling how I start mastering a skill, meaning I don't suck that much, because it's not like, oh, I became so good. It was like I start slowly getting, you know, a voice in everything. I was like, yeah, I don't want to quit this anymore. So after that mindset like swap, I think every time ever since I had a gig or unpaid gig, I'll be, you know, like so into it, you know, stressing even the night before, just because I'm so passionate to get it done. So I think that's the only place people really get your vibe on, especially on set, because you can be blah blah blah. I went to the school, I did this, I shot this film, but you might have like a really off energy, and then
That sounded
you
like
really
me.
want to talk to people.
Are you trying to?
You know,
Are you
like,
trying to? That sounded like me.
Yep.
So with all that energy that we had in the beginning of our careers, we noticed that within each other, and that's definitely something I noticed separately on Emmanuel and then on Val. And with I'm Leaving Her, we got to win, like Emmanuel was saying, best cinematography, which he was saying, hey, I look back at this movie and it's not, you know, really something that I would be proud of if I did it now. But I think it was part of not only having that passion, but experimenting. If you watch that, you're going to see that we experimented with all kinds of lights. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, you know, but that's how you got to go through that learning curve to get to where you are. And like Val was saying, not being scared to experiment, not being scared to go out and put your face out there and give it your best, I think is part of it. But then as I was seeing that, I started seeing how Brooke was showing me that she wanted to act more. And I do want to say Brooke back then was doing art direction for us. So we also she won an award with Shannon for best makeup and best art direction for that film as well, for I'm Leaving Her. And I gotta say, I won best editing, so I'm sorry. I had to say, but we got nominated. We got nominated for best film. We got nominated for best.
We got second place in that festival of all.
Yeah,
the awards. We got what, like 3 or 4 awards compared to the person who got like 5. And if we got one of their awards, then it would have just swapped from what places we were.
Yeah, and we got like 11 nominations, so it was great. And I realized that the thing that was lacking was the storytelling aspect, and that's how I also started to devote more time to learning that really and improving at that craft. But I was seeing that Val was really great at that other side of things that we didn't have somebody at that moment to do, which was not necessarily the art direction itself, but the lighting really, and working as a gaffer. So I was meeting her through advertising inside the agency, and I already had Emmanuel wanting to, you know, keep doing cinematography. So I had this idea to make this film called The Blue Room. It was a random afternoon. I was with my friend Lindsay from Think, and we were just talking about these technologies, and AI wasn't even a thing how it is now, 2-3 years ago. And now, I mean, it's huge. Everybody talks about it all the time. But we were already way ahead of the game, guys. You know.
Yeah.
What I said.
We were way ahead.
So we were talking about that. We came up with a story about this boy that's playing video games and he's stuck in his room. How can we shoot that in one room? And I was gonna come to Brazil, so we had to do it in like one place. So we did it in my apartment. It was this whole thing. But I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce these 2 very creative, very talented Venezuelans I know. They're kind of nice. And they're gonna love each other.
What do you mean kinda? We're the fucking best.
They're not gonna know it right away, but they're gonna end up being great friends. So it was the funniest thing because I brought Emmanuel and I brought Val. And we went to get tacos.
Tacos, yeah, I can't forget.
And they were, I know they're shy, so I knew they were gonna be super shy when I introduced them. And then a few months later, they're best friends. A few years later, we were working on stuff together.
I don't even remember us being that shy when we talked. I just remember we were talking about the film, to be honest. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened in that meeting.
No, I mean, you guys were, I mean, Val, you can take it from here, but I think you guys are not, I mean, I talk a lot and I get to know people and I just introduce them and I do all that networking. And Emmanuel, you're, I think, more doing that more now, but I think back then, not as much. So I think when I first introduced you guys, you were kind of like, I'm going to work with her. And she's like, I'm going to work with you. And I'm like, yeah, that's the team. You don't get to pick your gaffer. You don't, I picked it.
For real,
worked,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you picked us, really.
I think I was also very excited with that aspect of having someone designated as a gaffer, because when you do short films, you do a lot of things.
I
You have a lot of
remember,
hats.
I remember clearly how we brainstormed. I felt like it was really cool the way we started brainstorming about this character inside the room with all this, tricks of the personality. And we were like, yeah, how crazy. We don't do this because like we're kind of, our generation or our childhood was, being out there and doing stuff. And when we start thinking of this mindset, we start getting really creative, and I remember that pretty quickly. And then, yeah, and then I guess we didn't talk until the day we shoot. And then that day, I remember talking to Emmanuel, like more of a, who are you? What you do? Like that day was like, we're sad.
You're missing a day. We went to, didn't we go to Vanguard before we shot?
Ah, true.
Or was it after?
We went
No, but I was thinking, yeah. We partied.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
It had to be, no. We went to Vanguard before we met at the taco place, I'm pretty sure.
No.
What?
No. There's
that's
no way.
not true.
There's no way
not true.
because he didn't even know who you were and vice versa. Like, dude, there's no way. You met
It
at
had to be super close. It had to be like the same month.
I know we went out there.
It was probably like few days after, but
It was a few days after.
Yeah.
I might have a photo, and I.
But
I can
that's
confirm
so.
if you
That's
can.
what's cool about us, though. We go out together and drink and listen to music, and then we also travel together. But we also do films and work together. And I think we're the perfect balance between those things. That's what makes it work because we're very honest about ourselves. We really know every side of each other. You know what I mean? And I've seen Emmanuel, sleeping and not daydreaming. What is it? Sleepwalking. I was gonna say daydreaming. No, sleepwalking. I'm seeing all kinds of things, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was drunk, whatever.
Yeah. So there we go. See?
Look at that.
Look at that. Look at that. See?
A picture of us. It says November 25th, 2021.
So
When we went
that's
out.
like around the time we filmed. I know if it's after or before.
Let me tell you something. I remember perfect because that day was a rough day for me that I didn't say anything about it. But it was the day my grandfather died. So that was December 12th. So that means that we partied before we even shot.
We partied way before we filmed. That's so true.
He was
That's
right.
funny.
He was right.
Yeah.
But well, we only talked that time about it, like three of us together, and then next thing I was on set meeting all these people in your apartment, bringing the lights and everything. Yeah.
I think going out kind of broke the ice.
Yeah,
Completely.
definitely.
It did.
I think on set I was definitely super jokey on that set. I was definitely messing around a lot on that set.
I think it was the most fun we've had, and it's part of it is because we went out and we got to know each other. So I think that did break the ice. And Pablo, he was out with us.
Pablo was with us. Yeah.
And we all got drunk. We're all listening to, I think it was either John Summit or
Yeah.
it was somebody like that. It was some really good DJ. So we're all listening to that, and we're all together. And then the next few days, and then we're all set. But how was that experience though for you, Val? And then I know it was a rough day for you. How do you manage that? So having a rough day, but still making sure you can contribute on set. Because one thing like that happened to me. I was with Emmanuel on set, and I found out on that day that my grandma got diagnosed with cancer. So it was like, boom, like in the middle of the shoot day, I find like the worst news ever. So, and I'm in a different country, and so it's all this thing going on with me, and I still have to keep my professional side, So how did you go about that?
Well, I first, the moment I realized that it was in the morning, I already went to see my grandfather. I saw him doing really bad, so I kind of knew he was gonna die. But you always keep that thought of not tomorrow. Like it could be after tomorrow, but not tomorrow. Well, it indeed happened, and I was in the living room with my family, and I was like, guys, I have the movie. And everybody in my family, I mean, I love my family because they're like super supportive. Like, they looked at me and they're like, so what are you gonna do? Stay here and be sad, or have a lot of fun and do what you love? And I was like, shit, then I think I'm gonna go do something I'm gonna enjoy. And I totally had my grandfather in mind, because like he loved filmmaking. He was the one who loved it. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure he will enjoy a lot my story about making this story. And I just had to keep it together. Like I actually didn't feel sad on set. I'll say that I was very sensitive, but I enjoyed I think I was like kind of quiet too. But
you were quiet, but you were doing everything and more that you were supposed to do, and I think it made you focus more and escape, I guess, from that reality, but at the same time, like knowing what happened and still being there.
And remember, I brought my camera too, so I was doing the BTS, and I was observing you guys doing your thing, like you directing, you doing the camera, the acting. I mean, we had Corey, who was like badass acting, and
So good.
I don't know, like it was such a amazing environment to be in, that I totally forgot that things, weren't ideal the day.
Yeah.
So
You
I just
reminded me of one thing that I want to mention afterwards, but just remind me of that, of how Corey was there and how we got Darren to be part of it as well. So after you finish this, I have to talk about that, because I think it's a really good connection too.
Well, yeah, at the end, I felt like so inspired. That's how I felt. Like, I will get goosebumps, because like that's the way I really feel like, oh my God, this shit is so cool. It's like I start getting goosebumps when, Corey started acting really good, and, we went over and over, and I think we finished at 3 a.m., something
Probably.
like that. And I remember laughing so hard at you, Fernando, just picking up garbage and doing like you hit yourself, like, ah! And I was like, oh my God, every time you say it, I'll laugh. So it was such a like cool environment, and completely different to the things I was produced before, because the way I like land into doing lining, it's like I always knew I like camera and stuff, but I never owned like a really good camera, just a photography camera. And then when I got to the lining class, I loved it. It was, and my teacher was like the coolest guy ever. So he will start like, oh, and I had all this equipment from the production and from UCF, which is a whole studio. So I could play endlessly with like lights, and that's how I was like, oh, I get it. Like it's something that you need to like understand really, but then it's like it's just creative. It's just like you don't really have something specific to get there, but you listen to your DP, to your director, like, and problem solve a lot. So, you know, it's something that I guess it goes with my personality a lot. I like to problem solve every day. So, and that's also like a big sign of creativity, because like creativity, I don't believe it that it's just like, oh, I draw, oh, I take pictures. It's like how you actually manage to do stuff. And I think even my grandfather dying that day and going on a set was a very creative way to cope with something tragic, and just in a different way. But it all ended up so good. And I remember also just telling Fernando at the end of the day, because I also overwhelmed, but happiness overwhelmed. So I was like, bro, like I didn't want to say anything to anybody, but this happened today, and I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to this set, because it was beyond the experience that I thought I would have. You know, it was like this. I love everybody in here. I was so passionate. I was like, well, I hope they call me back though. But yeah, I remember that day clearly, especially.
My two biggest memories of that day. I think this was probably like the most goofy we were on set, because we weren't as goofy on the previous sets, but this time, and this is mainly on me. But when we were recording the audio, I don't know where I had a laughing fit, so then I had to put my face inside a couch to not laugh. But when you try not laughing, you start laughing harder. So everyone's super serious, and I'm like laughing like inside a couch, super loud. And then the actor is trying to be as straight and as serious as possible, as he's looking at me laughing at his face. It's the worst, and I was so embarrassed, but it's always like a funny memory. And then
Dude,
the second thing,
the scene had to be so serious, and the sound had to be zero sound. So you were like the opposite of that. You were making noise. But it's because we literally, like you said, we went out to a club together. Like, we were too comfortable with each other. So, but listen, we all have stories to talk about now, and I think like it's part of it, having fun while you're doing it. Like, even this, we're having fun while we're doing it. So, you know what I mean?
I also love that at the end of the night, I don't know why, this wasn't even a memory I thought of often until just now, but when you were helping me take the car back to your car, I don't know what, it was you, Fernando, right? I don't know what happened, but the car, when we're going down the stairs, something happened, and it got stuck on your foot, and all the weight was on your ankle, and you're like, ow, 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 ow. We just couldn't do anything about it. Oh my God.
3 a.m.
It was like, no, it was more. It was like 4 a.m. I don't know, we were dead. I was so tired. He's the last one to leave. He just puts like everything, a whole fucking studio on top of this little cart. And he's like,
It doesn't roll well.
No, there's no elevators in that beauty. It's a fucking stairs. He's like, oh, we just gotta go down. I'm like, bro, you can't go downstairs with that. He's like, yeah, go on the other side. and dude, there's something funny about when you're talking to somebody, for me at least, from a different country, like me being Brazilian, in my head, I'm like, all right, maybe he knows something that I don't know. maybe there's no gravity in America. So he pushes that. He's like, oh no, it's fine. You're gonna be okay. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? There's no way. Oh my God, it was a good day.
I don't know how your ankle got stuck in there, but it was like in the worst position where we couldn't pull it any other way.
I know.
You were screaming like crazy.
I'm like, yeah. I know. I remember that. My ankle remembers that too. But two super quick things I want to say about this film. So 2 people that I invited to set that were different from the other sets. I think 3 actually. Pablo, who usually he works with us as an actor, and on this he was an AD. And I mean, the amount of work he did and how much he helped me on that set was incredible. Really, just it's so important for a director to have an AD, which is the assistant director, right? Someone that's going to be managing schedules. They're going to be managing really what actors are supposed to be on the scene and what actors are going to be preparing. So behind the scenes, managing really all aspects of production. So he did a great job at that. And I think him being an actor brought that creative and artistic side to the table as well. So it wasn't just...
He did great. I remember, yeah.
You know, like sometimes I wouldn't really, and after that, I took acting classes and all of that to see myself on the other side of the camera. And I think that helped me a lot personally. But back then I didn't have that experience. And I think having him there, he would know what word and what moment to say something specific to get the actor to where I wanted. And then the other two people, so we were talking about I'm Leaving Her, where this other film got more awards than we did. That other film was directed by a guy called Darren, and Darren won the award for Best Director in that festival. And instead of me being like mad at that or being like, the guy, why? Oh, it's so much better. Let me leave and just be pissed. I immediately went up to him after he got the award and I was talking to him because I want to talk to people that know more than I do and I want to grow. And I remember having Emmanuel in the conversation as well. And we invited him to be part of the Blue Room later on. So he helped me with that film. He wasn't really an AD, but he was there on set and he was shadowing every single thing. And he helped so much to craft that story. I got him in on pre-production. I made sure he was on set and I talked to him in post-production. And the reason that movie was so successful was because of such a powerful crew. And I think having him being part of it was huge.
Yeah.
And then the other guy is Corey, right? Mm-hmm. So we met Corey at that same festival for I'm Leaving Her. We saw him as the secondary character in this film. It was good and bad. It kind of sucked and it was kind of good. But Corey was really great in the film. And then I went up and I talked to him and I wanted him for a certain part in the movie. But then Gabby said, no, he should be the lead. And I'm like, no, the lead? She's like, yeah, he should be the lead. And I'm like, and then that idea started to grow in me. And I was like, that could actually work. So then I went out and I brought the scripts and I had him read it. And I was like, you're the guy. Okay. And I mean, even Val mentioned, like, it was insane.
Yeah, it was right? Yeah. And I wanted to laugh so hard because like I will have to like keep it down so much, especially with the part of like throwing the pills. Remember how he burst the freaking pills and I was like, oh my god, someone's gonna die. That's dope. Like that was actually nice.
He brought everything like higher than what I gave him as direction. He would bring everything to the top and then you would have to scale it down, which is something cool to do.
Okay, guys, so in this last part of the episode, we're just gonna answer quickly to a prop. And the reason why is because I feel like creativity is just like a muscle and you have to really just practice a lot to get it faster and better. So since we're all creative, let's try to give it a shot and let's see what we can really come up with in a few seconds. So the prop of today is gonna be, finish this thought. A perfect day in my imagination begins like this.
Oh, the first thing that came to mind was a dream I had a lot when I was little, which is just me flying. I always wanted to fly.
Like wow, like wake up and fly,
like usually just open the window. I always had when I was little, I lived in houses. Right now, I'm at my parents' house in Brazil, and then I would just open the window and fly, and it was the best feeling ever. And the moment you said my perfect day in my imagination, I'm like, yeah, that would be it. I would fly to school when I was little. I would fly to set now. And it was insane because that series of dreams felt so real. So real. I would wake up and think, like, why am I not flying? Maybe if I focus, maybe if I concentrate, I will be able to.
Flying is definitely cool.
Hasn't really worked yet, but I can keep trying.
How about you, Emmanuel?
Can you ask the question again, Val?
So the thing says, finish this thought. A perfect day in my imagination begins like this. Go for it.
In my imagination, I'm so jealous of those videographers that travel the world. And every single time, I can see my vision and what I really want to do. It's just kind of travel the world. I think that's what I wanted as a kid. And then doing it for work, I feel like would complete that aspect of it. So I think that'd be a perfect day for me, just being in a different country, different state, different continent, and just seeing the world, but then having my trusty little camera with me to be able to capture a great memory.
And then Val, finish it up for us. Val, what would be your perfect creative day?
Well, if it's in my imagination, means like I have no limits. So I think it will be something that I would currently do. Like, I don't know, I would like to wake up, grab a cup of coffee, and then when I go outside, you know, everything looks different. Like I can sit in probably I'll say in a cloud and just look down at a river that is actually like a rainbow, like really shiny rainbow, and I can just go and grab some stuff and like eat from like around me. Everything is edible. I think that is always like in my imagination, everything should be edible. So
I think you mean you had an edible before you had
yeah, I like edibles, so I would go and
not with edibles, but at least like I would love to taste a rainbow, and I feel like I know because I don't think it tastes like candy. So I'll say perfect. Again, recapping, I'll have a cup of coffee because that's the best to start my creative day. Go outside, everything looks different. Sky is purple, and I can just sit on a freaking cloud and look down and see a river who has rainbow water in it. That's it. That will be my perfect imagination day.
Perfect.
It's a rainbow.
I love it.
My Skittles.
Right. Yeah, right? The Skittle life.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, for watching us three just say a bunch of stuff, some good stuff, some stupid information, some things I wouldn't even call information, but it was a great time.
Yeah, and everyone that's listening to this, stay tuned, stay very excited. This is pretty much our first kind of run at this. This first episode is just playing with a bunch of different things we had in mind. And we're very excited to kind of like show the progression of this podcast. We definitely are gonna. This is like an intro, so we're gonna be mainly talking about us, but we are gonna be talking about some great topics in the next couple episodes. So I'm very excited to get into that.
Okay, guys, stay tuned. Bye. Bye, guys.